I work with one of the founders of Nazava. We make like John household water filters we focus at like poor rural households. We've started in Indonesia in 2009. So with our water filters, you can turn well, tap, rain, or river water into water that's safe to drink. So we first came into contact with this carbon credits already back in 2011, I think, when people from Impact Carbon visited us. I saw them on they're still quite big in Africa right now. So then we in fact started working on it a little bit, but because our volumes were too low, we didn't push it at that time. So then when Impact Carbon, they went through a restructuring when the carbon credits dropped significantly in 2018 or so, I think, when there was a change in the CDM mechanism. And then we started for our Indonesian project, we started working with a member-based organization called Nexus for Development. So they are a carbon developer, but they are membership-based. And they provide companies with loans that you can use to do the carbon development, and then you pay back the loan from the carbon credit revenues. So that's it's a nice way if you're working in Asia. They are a partner I would certainly recommend to have a talk with. And for our Indonesian carbon system, we're now in the final, next year will be our final year, and I think we issued around 50,000 tons. We will issue a little bit more under this project, and then we have to start a new project because we are using a methodology that is non-renewable. And so in Indonesia, because people use less charcoal and less wood to boil water, but they do actually boil their water, not like there's not like the suppressed demand like in like in Africa. But they boil their water often on gas, which makes that the carbon emission reduction per filter is only 1/4 of a ton. So you get 1/4 of a ton per year, which is still like a significant amount of money, because you do like our average sales have been around like $10 per ton through the years. So it's still $3 per filter per year that you can get through the carbon markets. So for us, the carbon funding has been very helpful, especially to help us going through the COVID years, which were like very slow. We couldn't go into the field. We had very low sales, and the carbon credit revenue really helped us that we didn't have to fire that much staff at the time. So it can be, for us, it has always been like a second, just a backup financing, and nice to have, and not a must have. But then it came in very handy during those years. And so I think also if you work like in the violent or in the volatile economy, like many of the countries where we work are, then it's nice to have those carbon credits in case you cannot sell any of your products during a year. So so that's been very good. Now we also expanded to Kenya. First we expanded to Ethiopia. There we registered our carbon project, but we're still finalizing that. It's going a bit slower than expected because mostly the Ethiopian market is just very difficult with many conflicts. There we worked with a third party in a revenue share system, which I am in hindsight not super happy about. So I would really like, before you get into a deal with Thijs now, then really go through the details on how you get money and who is really doing what, especially as Thijs already said himself, to make sure that everybody gets a fair share for their work. But also, like when we signed that contract, the carbon markets were not as hyped as they are now. So one thing I think also is nice to maybe for later on in the discussion, like we've been approached by large companies from the oil and gas sector that like to prepay and pre-fund and buy up all our carbon credits for the coming decades. So it's maybe also interesting if you want to work with that, if you like how much you value your own water impact, and to what extent you would like to be an instrument of those oil and gas companies to greenwash. So that has been a little bit an ethical discussion there. Whether you should just get as much money from those companies and do your good work providing water, or that there's also want to not help those companies showing off their good work. So it's been interesting. So for Kenya, we want to do most of the work ourselves. So we are preparing the documents right now, and we hope to issue in 18 months from now. So that's also very, very exciting. So first it has been very helpful, and I think in the African context, or in the context where people boil a lot on wood and charcoal, there the revenues can be much higher, and so far we haven't been able to subsidize our products with the carbon credits, but we are looking to do that in Africa once we get the carbon credits, to be really able to sell our products at a much lower price point. I think what John is already doing.
Guido, sorry, right, I'm going to have to